3 years into our marriage, Yi Jingzhou finally agreed to celebrate my birthday with me. But barely had we sat down and taken a sip of hot wine before he was rushing out again. Yin Yang is hosting the tea ceremony around the brazier for the first time. I'm afraid the noble ladies might mock her. So I must go and lend her some support. I gazed out the window at the snow swirling through the sky. For the first time, I didn't hysterically demand if he was sneaking off to meet that slut again, nor did I tearfully lament the agony of being left alone in our bedchamber. Instead, I sent a maid to fetch my freshly pressed crane-patterned robe. This one was newly embroidered by the Imperial Tailor's Bureau. Wear it, and you'll certainly uphold my sister-in-law's dignity. Also, the roads are slippery in the snow. My sister-in-law makes the finest rice wine dumplings. You needn't return. Stay there, have a few extra bowls, and even spend the night. Suddenly, my hand was gripped tightly. Emotions churned in Yi Jingzhou's ink-black eyes. What do you mean? I needn't return. The sound of snow-laden bamboo snapping echoed through the courtyard. Yi Jingzhou released his grip, his expression heavy with weariness. Ruoli, I've told you many times Yun Yang is merely my elder sister-in-law. Our elder brother passed too soon, leaving her a young widow. I pity her. So I care for her more. I nodded blankly. I know, but my elder sister-in-law's rice wine dumplings are truly exquisite, your favorite. After all, besides, night has fallen and the snow lies deep. Traveling by carriage is difficult. Why not rest there tonight? It would spare you the trouble of journeying back and forth. Yi Jingzhou froze. It felt like punching cotton. The force drained from his fist instantly. The table was laden with steaming dishes, all prepared by my own hands early this morning. Today was my birthday. 7 years since we met. 3 years since our marriage. This was the first time he'd chosen to celebrate my birthday with me. Yet he hadn't even had time to sip a warm cup of wine before Ji Baiyan's maidservant came to escort him away. Yi Jingzhou stared straight at my face. He tried to find any trace of unusual emotion in my calm expression, but he failed. He turned to ask the maid, "Is it really too much for Yin Yang to handle alone?" The maid, reading his hesitant expression, replied softly, "This tea gathering also welcomed the eldest princess. I heard she criticized the lattice refreshments the moment she entered." And the lattice eyes immediately reddened. Yi Jingzhou clenched his fists involuntarily. Indeed, the eldest princess is sharp-tongued and critical. She disliked Yin Yang even in the maiden's quarters. And now she nitpicks at every detail. A subtle silence followed. I smiled inwardly, taking the crane-patterned cloak from the maid Zuya's hands. I draped it over Yi Jingzhou and fastened the sash for him. His fingertips, tinged with cold, gently brushed my forehead. "Don't be upset. Today is your birthday. I'll return early, even if hail falls. I'll rush home." I murmured a soft mhm. Yi Jingzhou vanished into the heavy snowfall, following the maid's footsteps. I pulled the maidservant in the room to sit down with me, and we finished the gradually cooling meal in lively company. An hour later, "Go fetch the ledger. I have something to discuss with you both." Just as Shuya reached the doorway, Yi Jingzhou's attendant entered the room. "Madam, the master has drunk himself into a stupor and won't be returning tonight. He will celebrate your birthday with you tomorrow instead." The room fell silent in an instant. Shuya looked at me with a hint of reluctance. The master truly won't be coming back. Then, I exhaled softly, acknowledging the message and dismissing the servant. Rising, I opened my trousseau chest, retrieving the boat tickets back to my hometown in Qingzhou and a divorce decree. Yi Jingzhou had written this to me a year ago, affixing his fingerprint and the official seal of the magistrate's office. Whether he returns or not, it hardly matters. After all, I'm leaving soon. I retrieved the ledger, paid the maids and matrons serving in the courtyard their wages, and dismissed them. Our time as master and servants was a bond. Now that I am no longer the mistress of the Yi household, you deserve new places to go. Though reluctant, they departed with tear-filled eyes. Shuya, my personal maid from my dowry, would naturally accompany me back to my hometown. She packed my dowry items, not much, but certainly enough for the journey. In the bitter cold, the gatekeeper of the Yi residence was shirking his duties and didn't notice me slipping out through the side gate. I took Shuya by carriage to the dock and handed the boatman 2 tickets. Why are you returning to Qingzhou in this blizzard? Young mistress. My sister and I served as maids in wealthy households in the capital. We must return home before the new year to celebrate with our parents. As the ship set sail, the snow fell heavier, settling in a thin layer of pale white upon the azure lake. Shuya pressed a small hand warmer into my palm. Miss, do you regret this? I exhaled a puff of white vapor and replied with a faint smile. My only regret is not leaving sooner. I still remembered 3 years ago, when Yi Jingzhou brought me to Qingzhou to meet his family. His parents had passed away early and had lost his elder brother. His only remaining family member was his widowed sister-in-law, Ji Baiyun. I respectfully brewed tea for her and presented Qingzhou's specialties. Yet she didn't even glance at me, her lips merely curving into a smile as she watched Yi Jingzhou. Whichever family's daughter you find suitable, that is good enough. I was the daughter of Qingzhou's magistrate, a world apart from Yi Jingzhou. Born into a distinguished scholarly family, yet I married him without a single obstacle. On our wedding day, Yi Jingzhou and I offered toasts to Ji Baiyun. For some reason, Yi Jingzhou kept calling her Yun Yang. Speaking words I couldn't fathom, Ji Baiyun's eyes instantly filled with tears. Hand in hand, they gazed at each other tearfully. Amidst the gathered guests, I, the bride, clutched my skirt hem, utterly at a loss. After marrying into the Yi household, I once inquired with an old servant about Yi Jingzhou's past. It turned out Yi Jingzhou had an identical twin brother, Qi, his brother, and Ji Baiyun had been childhood sweethearts, growing up together. Later, Yi Jingzhou was demoted to Qingzhou. Ji Baiyun then married his brother. Not long after, his brother died in battle, leaving Ji Baiyun a widow. Subsequently, Yi Jingzhou was exonerated and reinstated. Returning to the capital, it would have been unthinkable to drive away his widowed sister-in-law, so he lived with Ji Baiyun in the Yi residence. After hearing this, I felt a wave of bewilderment and knew I had to be cautious. Yi Jingzhou, such a proper young master from a distinguished family, never once addressed Ji Baiyun as his elder sister-in-law. Instead, he called her by her maiden name, Yun Yang. Living under the same roof, whatever beautiful clothes or captivating storybooks Yi Jingzhou acquired, if there was a share for me, there was always a share for Ji Baiyun. After all, she was his elder sister-in-law. He couldn't show favoritism, yet whenever Yi Jingzhou acquired something unique, it inevitably found its way to Ji Baiyun. Take the imperial gift of snail's hellcoal, only one measure was granted, and it sat on Ji Baiyun's dressing table. I never even laid eyes on it. Or the rare blood bird's nest purchased from a Hu merchant were all used to nourish Ji Baiyun's health. I never tasted a single morsel. I couldn't help but feel aggrieved. After all, I was the legitimate wife. Why was I treated this way? Whenever I voiced my grievances to Yi Jingzhou, he always had endless grand principles to offer. Ruoli, Sister Yun became a widow at such a young age, without even a child. Don't you feel pity for her? These are mere trifles. She's never contested anything with you, nor could she ever win against you. He cupped my cheeks, his gaze tender as he pleaded earnestly. Ruoli, as my wife, if you must harbor jealousy even toward your elder sister-in-law, it places me in a most difficult position. I leaned into Yi Jingzhou's warm embrace, letting him gently nibble my lip. Even as 1,000 grievances surged within me, I could only swallow them whole, teeth and all. Yet, despite my respect and tolerance for Ji Baiyun, she never ceased finding ways to trouble me. Yi Jingzhou once told me Ji Baiyun suffered from nightmares. In the dead of night, she often summoned him through her maidservants. The first time, I bought an erotic painting hoping to spice things up with Yi Jingzhou. We were halfway undressed when Ji Baiyun sent someone over. Master, The mistress says she's dreaming of her late husband again and weeping bitterly. I couldn't hide my disappointment. But my elder sister-in-law's illness came first. I urged Yi Jingzhou to go quickly. The second time, Yi Jingzhou and I had a little wine, and we were just getting warmed up. Ji Baiyun's people came again, saying she had dreamed of things from her childhood and requested the master come. The third time. The fourth time. I was truly terrified. I heard that a congee made with brown rice and quick seeds could cure nightmares. So I cooked a pot. Ji Baiyun drank it expressionlessly right in front of me. That night, what awaited me was Yi Jingzhou's raging fury. Jiang Ruoli. You know full well Yuner is frail. Yet you gave her such an icy congee. What were you thinking? Ji Baiyun lay in bed, vomiting and suffering from diarrhea. Her small face deathly pale and utterly weakened. Yi Jingzhou twisted my arm viciously, forcing me to kneel before her bed and beg for forgiveness. His eyes bloodshot. Terrified. I turned ashen, my eyes swollen from crying, pleading for Ji Baiyun's forgiveness. From then on, Ji Baiyun stopped calling Yi Jingzhou aside alone. She began appearing openly among us, right before my eyes. She and Yi Jingzhou would exchange cryptic hints I couldn't decipher, reminiscing about memories I hadn't shared. I could only stand by, forced to smile politely. During one meal, Ji Baiyun served a bowl of sweet rice balls and fermented rice wine to Yi Jingzhou. Finally spotting something about him only I knew, I smiled and said, "Your sister-in-law's rice balls look delicious. But since my husband doesn't care for them, I'll take care of them for him." Ji Baiyun, for once, fixed her gaze on my face and smiled, pursing her lips. "Not at all. Azhou loves my rice wine dumplings best. I add sweet osmanthus flowers. And he always finishes a whole bowl." Yi Jingzhou smiled warmly as he took a bite of a dumpling dipped in osmanthus syrup. I felt as if struck by lightning. "Zhou, do you remember?" Ji Baiyun deliberately left the sentence hanging, testing the tacit understanding between her and Yi Jingzhou. And Yi Jingzhou proved to be perfectly in sync with her. "It was when we were 7, right?" Brother ate so many rice wine dumplings he got as round as a ball and rolled down the steps during New Year's greetings. The two shared a knowing smile, utterly oblivious to my nearly ashen face. Chueya, who had accompanied me into the Yi household, could no longer bear to watch. "Miss, haven't you noticed the feelings between the master and this Ji lady?" I could only offer a bitter smile. How could I not see it? I simply refused to face it. On the day of my birthday, Yi Jingzhou excused himself, saying he had official business to attend to, and left me to eat the longevity noodles alone. Without a word, I sidestepped his spies and strode straight into the study. Just as I suspected, Yi Jingzhou's official business was holding his elder sister-in-law, her tears streaming like pear blossoms, close in his arms, his lips nearly touching her earlobe. "Yi Jingzhou, whether you take a concubine or keep a mistress, I can accept it." Gritting my teeth, I pointed slowly at Ji Baiyun, who was hiding in his embrace, my hand trembling uncontrollably. "But I absolutely cannot accept that you and your elder sister-in-law have an affair. It's utterly impossible." Yi Jingzhou shielded Ji Baiyun, who was still sobbing, and looked at me with an air of casual indifference. "And what do you propose?" My mind went blank, a buzzing hum filling my head. When I spoke, my voice trembled unnaturally. "If you insist on this, then we shall divorce." Yi Jingzhou was silent for only a moment before replying with a cold laugh. "Jiang Ruoli, as you wish." Yi Jingzhou was a rising star in the imperial court, wielding considerable influence within the government. Within 3 days, the divorce papers were drafted, fingerprints affixed, the official seal stamped, and placed upon my dressing table. I clenched the papers, my fingers trembling slightly. "Is that all?" Yi Jingzhou and Ji Baiyun, that heartless uncle and niece-in-law, toyed with me as if I were a fool. They flirted openly right under my nose. Did they truly believe a mere divorce decree would send me back to Qingzhou in disgrace? so they could remain together forever. My blood boiled. I hated him for deceiving me all these years. Hated him for betraying the genuine affection I once held for him. I refused to accept this. I would not yield. Yi Jingzhou would pay the price. But my maternal family's influence is meager. What can a mere woman do against an imperial official? Soon I came to realize. For a gentleman like Yi Jingzhou, his reputation is paramount. The day after receiving the divorce papers, I knelt at the palace gates, my voice choked with tears. Yi Jingzhou, chief clerk of the Ministry of Revenue, has committed adultery with his widowed elder sister-in-law. He disregards human ethics and overturns the principles of propriety. Passers-by pointed and whispered at me. I couldn't care less. I was determined to destroy Yi Jingzhou's reputation. To tear him down completely. To go down together. This commotion caught the emperor's attention, and he summoned me to the palace. Thinking I'd seized my chance, I sobbed and sniveled, recounting Yi Jingzhou's countless acts of cruelty and betrayal. How utterly despicable he was. The emperor watched me for a long while, as if observing a monkey show, then laughed. Who, you say, has no sense of propriety? Behind him stood the empress, her face twisted with fury. I jolted awake, suddenly remembering the old northern custom of dual inheritance. The current empress was the emperor's own sister-in-law. Enraged, the empress ordered me to kneel at the palace gate where officials dispersed after court. Civil and military officials passed by, mocking my foolish naivety, proof that long hair indeed brings short-sightedness. Kneeling on the icy stone tiles, excruciating pain pierced my knees while relentless cramps twisted my abdomen, threatening to send me into unconsciousness. A pair of boots appeared before my eyes, adorned with orchids I had embroidered myself. Yi Jingzhou stared at me coldly, his gaze deep and unfathomable. Jiang Ruoli, you have brought utter disgrace upon the Yi family. Yi Jingzhou ordered Shuya to help me into the carriage, sparing me further humiliation. But as soon as Shuya reached out to assist me, her hands were covered in blood. Ah, miss, what happened to you? Yi Jingzhou strode toward me, his expression rigid. All previous coldness vanished. My vision darkened, and I fainted. When I awoke again, I saw the physician. He said I was already 1 month pregnant, had nearly miscarried. But fortunately, the child was still there. Yi Jingzhou had tended to me all night, his eyes dark and puffy, looking much more haggard. Ruoli, you're carrying our child. Let's stop fighting. Okay. My heart sank heavily. Years of pent-up sorrow poured out as I threw myself into his arms, weeping bitterly. Afterward, Shuya urged me relentlessly to abort the child and return to Qingzhou immediately. But I clung to hope for Yi Jingzhou, imagining a future with children at our feet. Yi Jingzhou, concerned for my health, stayed by my side constantly, bringing me tea and water, no longer rushing off whenever Ji Baiyun called him. Ji Baiyun also restrained herself considerably. I truly believed that Yi Jingzhou and I could put the past behind us and grow old together. Until one day, Yi Jingzhou came to my courtyard, his expression heavy and frightening. Yun cried last night, saying her life is too bitter. She and brother have never had children. I want to ask you a favor for her. His eyes were lowered, his face etched with struggle and pain. This is your first child. Could you give this child to her? Consider it a gift to spare her a lonely second half of life. We will have other children in the future. I froze, my limbs turning icy. He was born of a mother too. Educated in the classic show, could he not know the agony of snatching a child from its mother? Yi Jingzhou drew a deep breath, seeing my fierce reluctance yet still trying to persuade me. Yin Yang said she knows you can't bear her presence. Once the child is born, she'll take it and vanish from your sight immediately. Just then, Shuya arrived with the pregnancy-preserving medicine. I could bear no more. Grabbing the bowl, I hurled it at him. Go to hell. Just go to hell. Yi Jingzhou's pale cheeks flushed crimson from the scalding liquid. He shot me a complex look before leaving. After that, Yi Jingzhou never set foot in my courtyard again. I was consumed by a wildfire of rage, utterly enraged. Whenever Yi Jingzhou wasn't in the mansion, I lay awake night after night, rising to search the entire capital for him. If I couldn't find him, I'd go to the Ministry of Revenue and question his colleagues one by one. Where is Yi Jingzhou? Is he meeting secretly with his elder sister-in-law again? Do these adulterous scoundrels think I'm blind and deaf? If I found him, I'd berate and beat him in front of everyone, wailing about how terrified I was alone in the mansion. I didn't care if I looked like a hysterical madwoman. I just wouldn't let them have it easy. On my second birthday after marrying into the Yi household, Yi Jingzhou again used official business as an excuse to leave. Tears of laughter welled in my eyes as I stormed through the door, my swollen belly thrust forward. Yi Jingzhou wasn't in the study, he truly had gone on duty. But Ji Baiyun was there, embroidering a tiger head cap as she smiled at me. Sister-in-law, you're here. She showed me the embroidered cap, staring intently at my face, which had turned almost ashen. Isn't it adorable? Ah Zhou said the child in your belly will recognize me as its mother. He even asked me to choose its name. I've drafted several literary names. Let me tell you, sister-in-law, whichever one you like best, I'll embroider it on the cap. Ji Baiyun's smile bloomed like a flower, yet in my eyes, she was a monster with a gaping maw, ready to devour the flesh and blood within my womb. Fury made my whole body tremble. I snatched the tiger head cap, grabbed a pair of scissors, and shredded it wildly. Ji Baiyun deliberately screamed, "Sister-in-law, what are you doing?" In the shoving, my belly slammed hard against the table corner. Thick, viscous blood gushed out from beneath my skirt. My body swayed unsteadily, and I closed my eyes in despair. The child was gone. I stroked my empty womb. Suddenly I realized, the child's departure felt like a piece of flesh had been carved from my heart. A piece of flesh that had long since rotted and stank. Ji Baiyun said it was all her fault for causing me to fall. She voluntarily moved out of the Yi residence, settling on the farthest street. Torrential rain poured down. Yi Jingzhou had grown gaunt, his eyes dark and unfathomable. The child is gone. Yun Yang has left. Jiang Ruoli, are you satisfied now? His fist slammed hard against the doorframe, drawing a streak of blood bright red, blindingly so. His gaze, suddenly fixed on me, was filled with hatred. Jiang Ruoli, this was our first child. Do you have any idea how precious he was to me? Out of consideration for your feelings, I turned Ji Baiyun down for the first time. I suggested she remarry or adopt a child from the charity hall. How could you do this? To spite Ji Baiyun, you harmed our own flesh and blood. I stared at his furious face for a long moment, then let out a soft, faint laugh. It was a bright, mocking laugh. Yi Jingzhou, who had always remained calm and composed before me, instantly reached the peak of fury. He grabbed my ankles, forcibly dragging me onto the carpet, then recklessly pinned me beneath him. That night, I clawed Yi Jingzhou's back until it was covered in bloody scratches, my own body trembling with pain, but my heart no longer ached. I began to grow increasingly conventional, embodying the virtues of a dutiful wife and mother. Yi Jingzhou came home later and later, and I never questioned it. Yi Jingzhou bought a courtyard next to Ji Baiyun's, and I couldn't be bothered to care. I made a small shrine for the child who had left us. Each day, I either recited prayers for the departed before the shrine or spent my time embroidering with the maidservants, experimenting with new recipes, living a life of comfortable ease. As sharp as Yi Jingzhou was, he soon noticed my unusual behavior. He began returning home early, often lingering outside the courtyard, testing the waters of my feelings. Through Shuaya, he explained why he returned so late. What vexing official duties occupied him today? His footsteps carried an indescribable restlessness. On the eve of my third birthday since marrying into the Yi household, Yi Jingzhou came to me bearing a robe of shimmering brocade, a delicate hairpin, and my favorite pineapple tarts. Ruoli. Tomorrow is your birthday. I'll cook longevity noodles for you and celebrate with you. Will you let me? His tone held a shy, pleading quality. My eyes crinkled with laughter as I replied, yes. Yi Jingzhou paused, then lifted my chin and kissed me. His kiss carried a hint of unease, a touch of stubbornness, but mostly the joy of something lost and found again. Ruoli, please give me another child. After Yi Jingzhou left, I drifted into a deep sleep. My dreams returned to Qingzhou, but they no longer depicted my days spent with Yi Jingzhou. Instead, they showed my parents holding my young hand as we walked among the golden rapeseed flowers blooming across the terraced fields. When I opened my eyes, tears had already soaked through my pillowcase. I sat silently on the bed for a half hour before calling for Shuya. Go buy a ticket for tomorrow's boat. I want to return to Qingzhou. Yi Jingzhou had a dream about Qingzhou. Back when he first arrived in Qingzhou, unfamiliar with the land and people, demoted and humiliated, he endured daily indignities, teetering on the edge of collapse. Only Magistrate Jiang treated him with kindness, saying he had fallen into disgrace due to scheming underlings and would surely rise again someday. Magistrate Jiang often invited him home for meals. His wife had passed away early, leaving behind a daughter named Jiang Ruoli, 5 years younger than him. She possessed delicate features and a charming smile that revealed 2 small dimples. Yi Jingzhou reflected inwardly that she wasn't a breathtaking beauty, nowhere near as stunning as Yun Yang. Yet, the more he looked at her, the more endearing she became, making him utterly captivated. Jiang Ruoli would mend his worn official robes, embroidering a tiny pear blossom upon each patch. She would bake delicious pastries, packing them in a lunchbox to deliver personally to the magistrate's office. This earned the envy of his colleagues and brought him great honor. Apart from Yin Yang, Yi Jingzhou had never encountered such a wonderful woman. On the day his reinstatement was announced, Yi Jingzhou invited Jiang Ruoli beneath the moonlight and mustered his courage to ask, would she be willing to accompany him to the capital? In the hazy moonlight, Jiang Ruoli's cheeks flushed crimson as she fidgeted nervously with her fingers. We've long since arrived in the capital. Unfortunately, I've already returned to Qingzhou. Yi Jingzhou jolted awake. The snow outside had ceased, sunlight filtering through the paper window and falling upon his brow. It meant this was already the morning of the second day. Yi Jingzhou's heart skipped a beat as he hurriedly summoned his servant. I fell asleep. Why didn't you wake me? The servant stammered. Master, you were drunk. The mistress forbade me from waking you. Ji Baiyun is no longer the mistress of the Yi household. Call her that again, and I'll beat your mouth shut. Yi Jingzhou pressed his hand to his throbbing forehead. Then, did the mistress send anyone to look for me? No. Mistress Ji told me to return and inform you that you wouldn't be coming back tonight. Yi Jingzhou gritted his teeth, suppressing the urge to strike, and coldly retorted. And what did the mistress say? Did she berate you mercilessly, ordering you to drag me home immediately? No, sir. The mistress said she understood. And then I returned to attend to the master's bedtime. Understood. That was all. Yi Jingzhou's heart clenched tightly. No. Given Jiang Ruoli's usual behavior, shouldn't she have stormed over to Ji Baiyun's place, crying and pleading for him to come home? Why hadn't she done anything? Yi Jingzhou quickly realized that, at some point, Jiang Ruoli seemed to have changed. She no longer cared about him as she once did. Quick, saddle the horse. I'm going back to the mansion. The curtain lifted as Ji Baiyun entered, carrying a bowl of sobering soup, a faint smile on her lips. Zhou, drink this first. Yi Jingzhou cut her off. Yun Yang, I've found a suitable colleague for you at the Ministry of Revenue, though his background isn't distinguished. He's kind-hearted and ambitious. He finds you beautiful and holds great affection for you. He'll provide you with a generous dowry so you can marry him and have children of your own. Ji Baiyun's expression darkened instantly. Zhou, what do you mean by this? Yun Yang. Yi Jingzhou wiped his face, his gaze no longer gentle. Ruoli has forgiven me. I don't want to betray her trust anymore. I just want to live a good life with her and have more children. Ji Baiyun froze for a moment, then grabbed Yi Jingzhou's wrist as tears streamed down her face. Zhou, do you remember when we played house as children? I always wanted to be the mother, and you the father. It wasn't your brother I ever loved from the very beginning. It was only you. That night you were demoted. I drank too much. I mistook your brother for you. That's why I ended up with him. I had no choice but to marry him. Half kneeling on the ground, she wept uncontrollably. But the one I wanted to marry was you. I understand. Yun. Yi Jingzhou's eyes glistened red, yet his fingers firmly pried apart hers, which had turned white from clenching. But the one I truly love, the one I want to spend my life with, isn't you. It's Jiang Ruoli. Yi Jingzhou returned to the Yi residence. He had long since regretted caring for Ji Baiyun without restraint, regretted failing to protect their child, and hurting this mother's heart with his words. He had planned to sincerely apologize to Jiang Ruoli on his birthday. This good girl, whose heart and eyes were filled only with him, would surely forgive him. Then, naturally, their second child would soon arrive, though the birthday had passed. It was only a day late. Apologizing today would still suffice. But Jiang Ruoli's courtyard was eerily quiet. Not a soul in sight. The lavish feast had vanished. The small shrine gone too. Only the brocade robe remained, shimmering coldly, along with the slightly rancid pineapple tarts. Yi Jingzhou's head pounded violently as an ominous foreboding washed over him. Where is she? Where are the maids and servants? Where is Xueya? Where is the mistress? The steward, already sensing something amiss, approached trembling. I don't know. After last night, everyone in the mistress' courtyard was dismissed. Yi Jingzhou's face drained of color. His legs buckled, and he nearly lost his balance. What did this mean? Jiang Ruolish was gone. She had left. A sharp pain stabbed at Yi Jingzhou's heart. He ran out of the house like a madman. He went door to door, asking. He asked his colleagues in the Ministry of Revenue. He asked the emperor. Where was Jiang Ruoli? Had she come looking for you? But the answer was always the same. No. No one had seen Jiang Ruoli, and no one knew where she had gone. Yi Jingzhou wandered alone through the capital's dusk, crimson as blood. He had never imagined Jiang Ruoli would leave him. Nor had he ever considered the day he might lose her. When that day finally arrived, Yi Jingzhou awoke from his daze, finally understanding what it meant to have one's heart torn out. The pain pierced his very soul. He took 7 days' leave, locking himself in his bedroom, refusing food or water, tormented by intense hunger. He finally remembered. Qingzhou. Yes. Jiang Ruoli would definitely return to Kingshout. Was her hometown. Her father, Magistrate Jiang, was still waiting for her back home. Yi Jingzhou knew he must have been too harsh in the past, driving Jiang Ruoli away without a word. He buried himself in official duties to ease his pain, constantly reflecting on what words or actions could win back his beloved wife. 3 long months passed before he finally mustered the courage to board a ship bound for Qingzhou. It was the 3rd month of spring. Qingzhou city was blanketed in willow trees, resembling a vast piece of jade, against the sky, as blue as freshly washed silk. A kite soared beautiful and strangely familiar. Yi Jingzhou lifted his head, his gaze following the kite's path. Upon the hillside blooming with poppies lay Jiang Ruoli, woman he longed for day and night, clutching a kite rod, nestled in the arms of another man. Her lips curved in a sweet smile. The heir of the Jingnan prince next door has invited me out to fly kites again. Holding the invitation, I recalled that baby-faced boy and felt my head grow 2 sizes larger. The prince of Jingnan was perpetually away at war, never returning home. Like me, he lost his mother at a young age, leaving him to wander Qingzhou with his hands tucked into his belt. Father once encountered him on the street, gambling with crickets. After being tricked into losing all his money, father not only helped him reclaim his losses but also invited him home for a meal. Father, Could you please stop bringing random people home for dinner? One Yi Jingzhou was already enough to make me regret it. This heir to the Prince of Jingnan's house will likely be even more troublesome. He's at the age when he needs to grow strong. It's just one meal. Father retired to tend to his family and spends his days doing charitable deeds. The boy, 3 years younger than me, happily ate the braised lion's head meatballs I made. His eyes wide and round. Big sis, you're so beautiful, just like my mother. You have 2 little dimples. I touched my nose, feeling embarrassed. Next time you have a cricket fight, remember to call me. I'll help you win it back. The young master was so delighted he polished off every last grain of rice in my family's rice pot. I took him and Shuya to the fields to catch a big, plump cricket. We went on a winning streak, raking in quite a bit of money. The 3 of us splurged at Qingji's most luxurious restaurant. The crown prince tugged at my sleeve, whining, "Sister, I'm so bored at home alone. The maids can't hold a conversation with me. Can I come play with you?" Crown Prince Yuanheng had a baby face but the physique of a grown man. Inside, he was still a child. I half-heartedly brushed him off. I figured a prince of royal blood would find little amusement with a discarded woman like me. Unexpectedly, Yuanheng took it to heart, visiting me daily like attending court. Today we played polo. Tomorrow we admired lanterns. The day after we splurged at the restaurant. The days spent with Yuanheng were utterly carefree. I couldn't even recall how long it had been since I last thought of Yi Jingzhou. Far away in the capital, but Shuya couldn't help but worry. Don't tell me this prince has feelings for you. When I first returned to Qingzhou, I told father about my divorce from Yi Jingzhou. Father wanted to find me another marriage, but I refused. First, the pain Yi Jingzhou left me hadn't fully healed. Second, I didn't desire marriage itself, only the chance to have a child. I don't think so. Yuanheng wouldn't have such intentions. Yet the Prince of Jingnan was the emperor's most favored cousin. I didn't want to invite trouble, so I arranged to meet Yuanheng outside and spoke to him earnestly. Your Highness, you are 17 now. You should understand the propriety between men and women. Surely your wet nurses and maids have informed you that I, Jiang Ruoli, am a discarded woman married once, divorced. It is highly inappropriate for us to parade through the streets together daily. Yuanheng blinked, moonlight tracing his handsome features. He pressed his lips together, then flashed a bright smile. Then would it be perfectly proper if I married my elder sister and paraded through the streets with my own wife? I choked on my words. The next day at noon, I opened the door with trepidation. Sure enough, Yuanheng sat perched on the wall, nibbling a dew-kissed peony blossom. The young man's crimson robe glowed like maple leaves, radiant as a rising sun. Sister, I snuck into the magistrate's garden to pick this for you. I opened my arms, and the golden peony fell into my embrace, its fragrance enveloping my face. Truth be told, in that moment, my heart skipped a beat. Yuanheng gave me a beauty kite, somewhat resembling memorably his own creation, Qingzhou, where grass flourished and orioles sang. Yuanheng found a hidden gem of a spot, seldom visited by others. With his help, I launched the beauty kite, and before I knew it, I leaned into his embrace. Your Highness, you should keep your distance. I tried to shyly pull away, but he drew even closer. Wait. Yuanheng lowered his voice, his lips nearly brushing my earlobe. There's a rather displeased-looking man approaching. I froze, and amidst the poppy blossoms, I unexpectedly saw Yi Jingzhou. Ruoli, what are you doing? Yi Jingzhou, dusty and weary, yanked me out of Yuanheng's embrace and shielded me behind him. He no longer looked at me, instead narrowing his eyes and fixing Yuanheng with a dangerous glare. You must be the crown prince of Prince Jingnan. If his highness knew the crown prince was attempting to seduce a married woman, had likely beat you so badly you couldn't stand for 3 days. Yuanheng glanced at me, his smile stretching almost to his ears. Minister Yi, how did you know my sister was about to become my wife? Truly prescient. Yi Jingzhou nearly choked on his breath, his face darkening to the extreme. To prevent the situation from spiraling out of control and ruining this beautiful spring day, I first coaxed Yuan Heng home, then took Yi Jingzhou to a secluded tavern to sit down. Yi Jingzhou hung his head in sorrow. Why didn't you bring me home? I still wanted to meet my father-in-law. I corrected him. Yi Jingzhou, we're already divorced. The divorce papers, you pressed your seal on them, stamped them with your official seal. You should remember that. A flicker of regret crossed Yi Jingzhou's eyes. No. That's not it. I signed the divorce papers back then just to tease you. I knew you were furious. Knew you dared not divorce me. Oh. So you knew I was madly in love with you. You wanted to manipulate me, teach me a lesson. Perhaps my words were too blunt. Piercing through his false pretense, Yi Jingzhou hung his head, his expression dejected. Ruoli, I did care for Yin Yang before. I thought of her in Qingzhou. But after meeting you, you became my only love. It was all my fault. I always thought caring for her was a favor, never realizing I was hurting your feelings. I'm truly sorry. He cautiously glanced at my calm expression and sighed. Ji Baiyun set herself on fire the night before marrying my colleague. After she wed my elder brother, she called out my name in bed. My brother had loved Ji Baiyun since childhood. He couldn't bear his wife calling out his younger brother's name. Consumed by jealousy, he beat her until she miscarried, forever robbing her of motherhood. Seeing she could never marry me, Ji Baiyun chose death over another marriage. Yi Jingzhou rolled up his sleeve, revealing an ugly scar on his arm. I couldn't save her in time. I watched her burn alive. Now she's gone. You don't need to worry about her anymore. Can you come back to me? I remained silent for a moment, a resigned smile curling my lips. Yi Jingzhou, what I've ever truly cared about has never been about Baiyun or Hongyun. What truly troubles me is that you know I love you, yet you still carelessly flirt with other women. Blurring all boundaries, you trampled my heart underfoot without a second thought. Trampling it, trampling it, trampling it. You watched coldly as I transformed from a girl whose heart and eyes were filled only with you into a hysterical, raving madwoman. You made me unrecognizable to myself. So tell me, do you really think I'd ever look back at you again? Even glance your way? But, Ruoli, Yi Jingzhou's eyes were bloodshot, brimming with tears. I truly regret my mistakes. I want to make it right with you. Can't you give me a chance to mend what's broken? Let's go back to how things were. I've come to Qingzhou. I'll give up my official position for you. I'll grow old with you here. See. That's Yi Jingzhou's true nature. Even now, he still tries to threaten me, to hold me hostage, claiming it's all for my sake. But whether Yi Jingzhou knows his mistake or not, I no longer care. So broken mirrors cannot be mended. We can only reconcile, never return to how we were. I rose, picked up my teacup, and slowly drank it dry. Because of that child who could never come into this world. Even reconciling with you feels like soiling our hands. Returning to how we were. Impossible. Yi Jingzhou wouldn't give up easily. He rented a courtyard next to mine, planting pear trees bearing the same name as mine. In the small city of Qingzhou, on such a narrow street, both the current Minister of Revenue and the Crown Prince of Jingnan resided. Truly, it brought honor to the humble abode. From then on, novelty items constantly appeared at my doorstep. Exquisite chess pieces, jade 9-linked rings, and the capital's most fashionable leaf cards. Through the wall, snowflake-like pear blossoms drifted over, along with Yi Jingzhou's plaintive flute melodies. Like the murmurs of a grieving woman, these untimely attempts at flattery fell before my eyes, yet stirred not a ripple in my heart. I treated Yi Jingzhou as if he were invisible, continuing to accompany Yuan Heng on our outings as usual. Yi Jingzhou trailed behind us, neither close nor distant, shadowing us like a ghostly presence that even frightened Shuya. What's gotten into Uncle Yi? When I accompanied father to the palace before, he was always so proper. How did he turn into a thief? Yuan Heng blocked Yi Jingzhou's piercing stare directed at me. Flexing his wrists. Shall I teach him a lesson? Make sure he never comes near you again. I held Yuan Heng back, shaking my head with a soft laugh. It's unnecessary. I'll speak with him myself. Yi Jingzhou. I've told you many times we signed the divorce papers. We've had no connection for ages. If you send anything to my home again, Father will report you to the authorities. For a man of your standing to pastor an honorable family, the rumors wouldn't reflect well on you. Yi Jingzhou lowered his head. Flustered. His voice strained. Ruoli, I only wish for you to be happier. Every day since leaving you has been filled with joy, especially with Yuan Heng by my side. He never causes me any worry. I replied, my expression impassive. Ruoli, though my relationship with Ji Baiyun was improper, it was entirely pure. You and the crown prince? Surely not. He's just a child. How could you possibly have feelings for a child? The moment the words left my mouth, Yi Jingzhou lifted his eyelids slightly, his gaze brimming with hope. That habitual probing again. At this point, he couldn't possibly still expect me to prove my innocence, frantically explaining that Yuan Heng and I had no connection. Yuan Heng isn't a child. While I truly don't wish to bind myself to another man, I do want a child. Yi Jingzhou's Adam's apple bobbed as he rasped. If you're willing to return, they'll spare no effort to give the child everything best, to be the most capable father. Then, do you remember that child? Yi Jingzhou could never forget the moment Shuya called him back. Entering the room, he saw me covered in blood. He could never forgive himself for speaking harshly to me after I lost our child. He truly had lost his mind then. Actually, it wasn't a fall that caused me to lose the baby. Yi Jingzhou thought I was in pain again, his eyes suddenly reddening. It's all my fault. I let that poisonous woman Ji Baiyun harm you and take your child. Once she lost her ability to bear children, she turned to harming you. No. I shook my head, lost in thought. Before Ji Baiyun lunged at me, I deliberately threw myself against the table corner. I knocked the child out. I spoke slowly, enunciating each word with the most matter-of-fact tone, describing the event that had tormented me through countless nights. Because I thought, if my child were born to have a cold-hearted, unfeeling father like you, then it would be better if he wasn't born at all. Yi Jingzhou's blood seemed to freeze in his veins. All color drained from his face. His lips parted and closed, unable to form a single word. Finally, this powerful new official who commanded the court's respect covered his face with both hands before me. Scorching hot tears streamed through his fingers. He bit down hard on his lip, letting out a despairing whimper. I sensed Yi Jingzhou wouldn't linger long in Qingzhou, yet he insisted on staying until the depths of winter, accompanying me through my birthday celebrations before returning to the capital. He said it was a debt he owed me, his final act of recompense. I saw no such debt between us, so I let him have his way. Qingzhou entered a long rainy season. Torrential downpours fell day after day. Not a trace of blue sky in sight. Floodwaters raged, reducing villages to ruins. Displaced people wandered the land, their cries of despair echoing everywhere. Yuan Heng stopped inviting me out to play. As the heir to the Prince of Jingnan, with the prince absent, he had to lead by example and head to the front lines to fight the floods. Father and I stayed in the city, setting up soup kitchens to aid the fleeing refugees. Shuya brought news that people were fleeing the floods and heading for the mountains. The mountain temple was now overcrowded, filled with pregnant women and children in urgent need of aid. Miss, this rain is truly too heavy. Let me accompany you. Shuya was much smaller than Mesh couldn't go. I took emergency food and water, wrapped myself in a straw cloak, and set off alone up the mountain. The mountain path was treacherously muddy, with every step into a puddle. Sticky yellow sludge nearly submerged my ankles. Each stride grew harder, but I finally reached the halfway point. Just as I took a sip of water, a wailing cry echoed relentlessly from the valley below. I looked up. a torrent of yellow slurry, carrying boulders like a caged beast unleashed. Raced down with a force that threatened to devour everything. A mudslide. Countless pebbles pelted my face as terror made my eyes widen. In the dizzying chaos, a familiar, powerful force yanked me backward and pinned me beneath it. When the roar in the valley finally subsided, Yi Jing's Huho had appeared out of nowhere, lay firmly shielding me beneath his body. He struggled to open his eyes. The whites stained crimson. Ruoli, are you all right? Why? My lips trembled in shock. Why was Yi Jingzhou here? And why was he shielding me? I'd already evacuated the mountain temple's refugees with the soldiers. Who knew I'd find you just as we descended? Yi Jingzhou groaned in agony, a sound so sharp it seemed to crack his bones. I whipped my head around to see a massive boulder crushing his back. Don't move. I'll help you. Don't be foolish. You struggle to carry a ladder in the mansion. How could you possibly shift this stone? Yi Jingzhou's lips curved into a resigned smile. A trickle of blood flowed from his temple, dripping onto my lips. He leaned against my shoulder, deep weariness gathering in his eyes as he slowly closed them. He couldn't sleep. My body ached so badly I couldn't move, but I shuddered my shoulders, forcing Yi Jingzhou to keep his eyes open. Yi Jingzhou, wake up. You can't sleep now. I brought lots of pastries. There are rice wine dumplings you like inside, though I didn't add osmanthus, so they're not very sweet. You said you didn't like rice wine dumplings, but really, you just don't like the ones I make. Do you think my cooking is terrible? Wake up. Tell me clearly. As I spoke, tears streamed down my face. The fresh water I'd brought was already spilled all over the floor. I could only keep licking the tears that reached my lips, along with the droplets of blood on Yi Jingzhou's face. In my heart, I silently repeated over and over, I must stay awake. I must save us both. Finally, as night fell and I was on the verge of collapse, in the misty forest, a faint, blurry light flickered in and out of sight. Miss. His Highness. It's the Miss. She's over there. Yi Jingzhou. We're saved. Relief washed over me like a tidal wave, draining every ounce of strength from my body. I collapsed into Yi Jingzhou's arms. This time, I had no idea how long I slept. Every bone in my body felt as if it had shattered and been pieced back together. When I opened my eyes, I saw Father, his eyes red from exhaustion, and Shueya, her eyes swollen from crying, and Yuan Heng, his skin tanned to a deep wheat color. I struggled to open my mouth, startled by my own hoarse, raspy voice. Where is Yi Jingzhou? How is he? Yuan Heng brought me a cup of tea, gently patting my back to help moisten my throat. Minister Yi. He avoided meeting my eyes. Yi Jingzhou was struck in the head by falling rocks. By the time we cleared the debris, he was drenched in blood and already gone. I never imagined that Yi Jingzhou and I would meet under such circumstances. The flickering candlelight in the mortuary trembled incessantly as I lifted the white cloth. Yi Jingzhou lay there, utterly still. This man, who once inflicted the deepest wounds upon me, yet in the hour of peril, he sacrificed his life to ensure mine. The eyes and brows I had traced countless times would never again gaze at me with affection. His lips would never again curve into a smile as he chatted with me about everything under the sun. Never again would he tease me to make me laugh. That night, sitting beside Yi Jingzhou, I recalled the past. Sometimes it was in Qingzhou, where Yi Jingzhou took me hiking, amidst mountains blanketed in crimson leaves. He carried me on his back so I could savor the view. Other times, at the Yi residence in the capital, Yi Jingzhou and I would be at each other's throats, ready to tear each other apart. The white cloth fell back across Yi Jingxian's brow. I let out a soft sigh. Yi Jingzhou, you owe me nothing now. I forgive you. As his friend, I presided over Yi Jingzhou's funeral in Qingzhou. After the ceremony, Yuan Heng asked if I'd accompany him to meet the Prince of Jingnan. Sister, you know I never cared about past. I paused, then smiled and declined. But I did care. Colleagues from the Ministry of Revenue arrived in Qingzhou and took Yi Jingzhou's ashes away. The Huai River flows endlessly, its vast expanse of mist and waves carrying boundless sorrow. I stood on the shore, watching the boat drift into the distance. Farewell, Yi Jingzhou. I too must begin my own life now. Mountains tower high. Waters stretch far, me we never meet again in the next life. The end.